Hi guys and gals. Here we go into chapter 7. This is some of our last topics and maybe a couple of our last videos together for this year. So you need your books open. 344 is where, 345 is where 7.1 starts. And there's a little bit of vocab in here, not too much. Percent is a ratio whose denominator is 100. So it's a ratio, which means it can be written as a fraction. A ratio whose denominator is 100. You can see the examples for a numeric example and an algebraic example. So 85 over 100 is the same thing as 85%. You drop the 100 and add the percent sign. In algebra, some part over 100 equals p%. So again, when you're writing a percent and you have a fraction with a denominator of 100, drop the denominator and add the percent sign. I'll tell you a little interesting story about the percent sign when we come to class. So here's just a couple quick examples. Write the following percents as fractions in simplest form. Number 1, drop the percent sign. Number 2, add 100 as the denominator. Number 3, simplify. So 80%, drop the percent sign. There it is, dropped. Put it over 100 and simplify. So we know that 80 over 100 will simplify all the way down to the tens will cancel each other out. 8 is the same as 2 times 4. 10 is the same as 2 times 5. So 80% is the same as 4/5 written as a fraction. 51%, drop the percent sign. There it is, 51, no percent sign. Put it over 100. Ask yourself, can you simplify? You cannot. 51 and 100 they're relatively prime. They have no common factors. So now we're going to go back the other way. This was taking percent signs and making them fractions. Now we're going to take a fraction and we're going to convert it to percents. We're going to learn a couple different ways to do this, but in this particular section, this is all about taking the denominator and making it 100. Ask yourself, equivalent ratios. How can I get from 25 to 100? Multiply times 4. If I multiply the 25 times 4, I of course have to do the same thing to the numerator. 4 times 4 is 16. Now to write it as a percent, you need to drop the 100 and add the percent sign. So if I drop the 100, it just becomes 16, and I add the percent sign, and there is the equivalent of writing 4/25 as a percent. This one is pretty straightforward because you can get from 50 to 100 by doubling it. So if I double 27, I get 54. If I drop the 100 and just write the 54 and add the percent sign, I am finished with that problem. Pretty easy, right? Right. Okay, so here's where of means multiply again, and I want you to remember that when you're looking at these nice examples. Again, there are other ways to work number 5 and number 6, and we're going to learn about those in 7.2 and 7.4. But for 7.5, I want you to change the percent to a fraction. And then use the of, turn it into a multiplication problem. 25% is the same thing as 25 over 100. Of means multiply. 36 is the same as 36 over 1. And now we need to do a single fraction bar and cancel what we can. 25 goes into 100, so I'm going to leave that 25 alone. I'm going to think of 100 as 25 times 4. The 25s cancel, and 36 over 4 is the same thing as 9. Find 70% of 70. Again, 70 over 100 means multiply. 70 is the same as 70 over 1. Single fraction bar. I can think of 70 as 10 times 7, and I can think of this 70 as 10 times 7. 100 is, of course, 10 times 10. So all my little 10 friends cancel, and my answer is 49. So when you're doing a math problem with percents in the problem, you have got to get rid of the percent sign. You're going to either make it a fraction or you're going to make it a decimal, but either way, you cannot do math with the percent sign in the problem. So in this section, we're practicing all fractions, all things fractions, so no decimals, please, not in 7.1. Here's a little word problem. 90% of the flights that left at a certain airport departed on time. If there were 150 flights, how many departed on time? Let's see if we can come up with the math question. The math question is, what is 90% of 150? If you scrape away all of the English words and you go through and you read it carefully, what they're asking you to find is 90% of 150. And this looks like the examples that we just did. Of means multiply. 90% is 90 over 100 times 150 over 1. I can think of 90 as 9 times 10, and I can think of 150 as 15 times 10, and 100 is 10 times 10. That gets rid of a lot of those 10s, gone. And 15 times 9, which is, what's that, 135 maybe? 135 flights left on time, and that would be your S statement. Blank flights left on time. And you'd go pop it in there. Does that make sense? Yeah, 135 out of 150 total. That seems like about 90% to me. It could be, unless we made a mistake somewhere. All right, let's keep going. Now we're going to bring probability into this. I told you last chapter we wrote probability only as a fraction between 0 and 1. But oftentimes you do see probability written as a percent, which means you just take one more step, take the fraction that you have, and turn it into a fraction with 100 as a denominator. So you're going through a baggage security, and 3 out of every 10 passengers are going to be lucky enough to have their baggage screened, their luggage screened. What's the probability that you will be chosen to have your luggage searched? Remember, probability is number of favorable, I'm not sure you consider it favorable to have your bag searched, but in this problem, that's what it is, over number of total. So the total for 10 people is 3 favorable. You have a 3 out of 10 chance of having your baggage searched. But if they ask you to write this as a percent, I need a denominator of 100. How can I get from 10 to 100? Multiply times 10. So if I multiply the 3 times 10, I get 30 over 100. To write it as a percent, drop the 100, add the percent sign. So 30% is the answer to the question. A similar question, radio station randomly selects 1 out of 5 people for a prize. You are one of the finalists. What's the probability that you will win? Write your answer as a percent. I'm going to leave this one for you. I want you to think about it and come to class with this one worked. All right, let's look at the spinners. I don't have the spinners on this note sheet, but you have one in front of you, so we can talk as if the spinner is here. So find the probability using percentages of these given events. The probability that you're going to get an odd number. Okay, so let's look at our spinner. We've got 12 total things, 12 total outcomes. How many of those are odd? 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, 11. That's 6. 6 out of 12, which is 1/2. And if we write it as a probability, a percent, we need a denominator of 100. To get from 2 to 100, you multiply times 50. 1 times 50 is 50. Last step, drop the 100 and add the percent sign. Part B, probability that you're going to get a shaded piece of your spinner. So there's 3 that are favorable out of the 12 total, which reduces to 1/4, which if we need a denominator of 100, we can multiply using equivalent ratios. 4 times 25, 1 times 25, drop the 100, add the percent sign. These are working nicely so far. Probability of a number greater than 2. So let me go get another color up here. So how many numbers are there greater than 2? 10 out of 12 are greater than 2. That reduces, so that's 2 times 5 and 2 times 6. So now our fraction is 5/6. I need my fraction to have a 100. We're going to save this one because this is one that we probably are going to work using 7.2 or 7.4. So we're going to save that one. Let's look at the prime numbers. All right, this means you need to know what a prime number is. So the prime numbers are, let's see if we can list them. I'm going to list them up here. Do you know which the first prime number is? It's not 1. So we have 2, 3, 5, 7, 11. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 out of 12. And again, I need a denominator of 100. Not looking like we can do an easy equivalent ratio to get that one. We'll save it. And composite are not 1, not 2, not 3. So we have 4, 6, 8, 10. Oh, 9. I skipped 9. 9, 10, and 12. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Half of them. 6 out of 12. Again, that reduces to 1/2. And the denominator of 100 is pretty easy to get to. 50/100. Drop the 100 and add the percent sign. Okay, let's take a look real quickly at a couple of these, and then we'll be done. You buy cottage cheese that's 4% milk fat. What fraction of the cottage cheese is that? It's asking you the math question. It's too fat a pencil. The math question is write 4% as a fraction, taking all the English words away. To write a percentage as a fraction, drop the percent sign. There it is, dropped. Add denominator of 100. There it is. And finally, simplify to 1/25. Last one. Oh, no, there's 2 more. I think I'm probably going to leave the last one for you. In a survey of 150 students, 30% said their favorite house pet is a goldfish. That's kind of silly. How many students said their goldfish is their favorite house pet? Again, what is the math question? Can you write it down? I'll give you a minute. What is 30% of 150? If you will take a minute on these word problems to write the math question, you will very rarely make a mistake. If you just hurry into the problem without really asking yourself what's the math question, sometimes it's easy to get it wrong. So 30% of means multiply. There's the multiplication. There's the 150. 30%. We got to get rid of that percent sign to be able to do a math operation with it. Drop the percent sign, add a denominator. Let's go over here. Let's do a single fraction bar. I'm going to think of 100 as 10 times 10, 3 times 10, and 15 times 10. The 10s cancel, and we get 45. Not too many people say that their favorite pet is goldfish. Please notice how I did all this multiplication without a calculator. I'm doing this with single fraction bars and canceling before I multiply. I hope you do that too. I would expect that you could do this without a calculator. And I will let you finish number 13 in much the same way that we have done the other ones. Will you please write the math question and then your work for solving it. Thank you guys. Have a good day. See you tomorrow. Bye.